At the end of my Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler commentary, I said that I didn't want to think about that project ever again. But lately, I've been thinking about the cancelled Season 2, and how I almost regret cancelling it. I originally conceived the idea of Season 2 as a way to solve the long-standing issue of Sonic and my project being essentially an artificial clone after the original model got digested by the giant fly in Episode 3, and I wanted to fix that issue through time travel. But some horny decisions of mine prompted me to cancel the season. Despite me getting started with that season in the first place, something in me has been telling me that I still need some sort of conclusion and closure involving the original Sonic model existing. At first, I pressured myself against it because I would have finished Season 2 in video form by now, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't stand not being able to see what happens. Besides, if I don't document what I had planned, it may be lost to history. At first, I was thinking of continuing Season 2 in fanfic form after starting with a novelization of Season 1 for context, but a combination of multiple possible outcomes, as well as me being almost unable to write novels in a decent form, has caused me to want to cancel those plans as well. So in this video, I will tell you all what I would have planned out for Season 2, as well as an approximation of what I would have done had I not canceled the season. It's an approximation because this would have been even more of an improv season than Season 1. If you downloaded the special edition of Sonic Space Adventures Against Hitler and took a look at the extras, you'll already know much of what I'm about to tell you, but I may as well explain it all for context, and because it's still technically part of Season 2. To prove that I had multiple possible outcomes, I actually had 2 possible prologues planned. The first one involved Sonic gradually growing Fly's wings and him growing bigger and bigger before getting the uncontrollable urge to eat his friends, which is a result of his DNA getting mixed up with the giant flies in the reincarnation machine. The second one involved Sonic's DNA slowly decomposing due to at least one defect in the reincarnation machine. Both prompt Silver to go back in time to stop that giant fly from eating Sonic in the first place. I ultimately decided to use the latter as the true prologue to Season 2. Episode 1 of Season 2 would have Silver go back in time to Episode 3 of Season 1 and kill the giant fly to prevent it from eating Sonic in the first place, and then during their talk over what to do next, Silver also kills Hitler, which would be a major turning point in how I would make downfall spacing scenes, because I would then have to plaster Goebbels' face over Hitler's and use dubbing from other clips for the audio, or at least use pre-existing Goebbels clips as much as possible. The rest of the episode, apart from those downfall spacing scenes, would have Tails examine the Oxyburger meat, as well as the bodies of those who consumed it, himself included, to make sure nothing wrong happened to them. Episode 2 would start with Antic Masters Fegelein and Himmler acquiring meat with weird white specks in them, which are actually eggs, which when consumed would expand their bodies greatly. Sonic, Tails, and Sally would end up consuming chili dogs made from this meat, and as expected, their bodies would gradually expand so that they would look incredibly obese. I found it to be so weird that it caused me to cancel the entire season altogether. And this was coming from someone who was fine with having Sonic take a giant dump and Tails take a dump in the sky in Episode 3. Even typing out what happens for this video, I remember why I canceled this season. But it wouldn't have stopped there. Later on, once the eggs have reached their maximum size, those who consumed them would very slowly lay the egg they consumed. Very slowly, because they would feel very tired and it would be very hard for them. And sometimes they would have to take sleeping breaks from doing so, but eventually they would succeed in doing so. After a while, these eggs would hatch into Parasaurolophus-looking creatures, initially the same size as their eggs when laid, but eventually they would grow up to a really big size and then grab their parents and position them in this particular location on their bodies before a yellow goop would seep out from their bodies and absorb their parents' legs. They would then go on, carrying their parents like a kangaroo's joey, with them being unable to escape. I would end up having Sonic suffer this fate the most, and even though I had no linear plans for what happens afterwards, I still have a few rough ideas for how the story may branch out. Because Tails and Sally would have their own Parasaur creatures, they would potentially have the same fate happen to them, but because this was an improv series that was cancelled, it could have gone a number of different ways. Maybe Tails could see what happened to Sonic and possibly kill his and/or Sally's Parasaur creatures before the same thing happens to him. Maybe he could end up like Sonic either before he finds out about it or afterwards, and he just couldn't escape its grasp no matter how hard he tries. Maybe he kills his Parasaur but fails to kill Sally's in time. It could go in literally any direction. Regardless, because of my horniness, I would have had the following planned out next. The Parasaur would eventually release their parent and yellow goop in solid ball form, dying in the process. The parent would free themselves from this goop to find out that their entire lower body is now the Parasaur's. In Sonic's case, this transformation would also take away his super speed. And even though there was no possible way for me to incorporate this into the series, though my horniness would force me otherwise, these new hybrid creatures would also have an uncontrollable urge to lay eggs into dead meat. And yes, they are the same type of eggs that were those white specks from earlier. And the cycle would begin anew. Now, early on, I had Silver proceed to send the Black Hurricane on a straight line, instead of it bouncing from planet to planet in episode 1, ultimately sending it severely off course, especially without their space map. Tails would end up dumping him from the team because of it. But then once Sonic becomes a Parasaur hybrid, I would probably have Tails regret dumping Silver and wishing to go back in time over anything else. You see, not even the reincarnation machine would help in this case, because Sonic's DNA would now be that of his hybrid self, and if Tails uses that, he'd be reincarnated in that hybrid self. This is the point where the biggest difference in possible scenario may occur. The one possibility that would lead to the soonest ending would be that Tails would find Silver, apologize to him, and have him open a space-time portal to a time before their mission and stop them from forgetting their space map in the first place, leading to them going on their mission without any hitches. Well, maybe except for Hitler's pencil of mass destruction destroying Sonic and then Silver's clone not coming back to save them all like what happened in episode 1. In that case, Silver could create the clone anyway because he already knows what happened previously and he wanted to be super prepared. But I also thought of another possibility that would make this series a lot longer. Right after Tails dumps Silver, Yodel breaks the news that Blaze killed Vitling and Monka, sending the whole Futterbunker crew in a panic. I would have the whole group retreat, but then when Silver hears the portal go off, I could have him go through said portal to take down the bunker crew himself, but that could go several different ways. Maybe Silver could succeed in killing everyone and use Spear's portal device to return to the ship to turn it around, only to remember that they are severely off course, and it would take literally forever to find their home planet, necessitating the time portal to their space map. But now that I think about it, since the bunker's portal would be inoperable by that point, it wouldn't be necessary to go on a physical path after all, so Silver could open his own basic space portal back home, grab their space map, and then navigate the Black Hurricane back home. Or maybe Silver could end up failing and getting killed by one of the Nazi generals inside. As a result, the Black Hurricane crew would still be completely lost and the series would continue indefinitely. Or maybe when Sonic becomes a Parasaur hybrid and Tails feels sorry for dumping Silver, Sonic could use Chaos Control, since he still knows how to use it, with someone else to open a space-time portal to the time before they forgot their space map. Bottom line, no matter how hard I try, My fetish turning Sonic into a Parasaur hybrid would make Tails feel sorry enough to make the crew use a space-time portal to go back to their space map. Maybe I was right about Silver's portal abilities breaking everything and making this whole journey unnecessary, despite me coming up with an answer that 2 portals can't be open in the same universe at the same time. I guess Season 2 wouldn't be nearly as long as Season 1 regardless of what I tried to do. Even if I wanted to drag out Season 2 to be as long or longer, I couldn't come up with much for the Sonic crew to explore even now, unless I were to get into more of my fetishes, my favorite creepypastas, Gmod maps to ooh and ah at, or even other blatantly infringing properties. That was certainly the case with Season 1. Now, if you're watching this and saying that you want me to finish Season 2 anyway, I'm well past being able to do so. I retired from using Source Filmmaker and Downfall parody making, and even if I didn't, I couldn't get SFM to launch on my computer the last time I tried to use it. My old Tails impression had also become even harder to pull off, and more inconsistent from how it used to sound, as evidenced by his German to English dialogue in the English dub of episode 10 of season 1, which I recorded back in 2021. I may be able to make a spiritual successor though, considering starting fresh is the best way for me to move forward. But considering Sonic X Season 3 did this concept of a Sonic space adventure better, I highly doubt it would be accepted by fans.